Step 6. Letter of intent. Assuming the seller and buyer agree on the terms of the IOI, the buyer enters the next round of bidding and begins an in-depth course of due diligence. The estimated time involved in diligencing a buyout target is generally between 2 to 6 months. However, because of the high time and resource commitment involved, the buyer will usually negotiate and sign a letter of intent with the seller after it has performed some due diligence. But before it completes full due diligence, by definition, the LOI is the agreement that documents in detail the buyer's intention to execute the transaction and substantially more thorough and legally declarative than the IOI. In an LBO, it outlines the investor's plan to buy out the business and discloses the most important deal terms. More importantly, it gives the buyer inclusivity, which is effectively the right to purchase that business within a certain time frame. It's now common for buyers to request an exclusive negotiating period, which is meant to ensure that the seller is not shopping their deal to other bidders while appearing to negotiate in good faith. This is particularly important because buyers will frequently involve outside consultants and legal counsel to help with diligence, and as such need assurance that they're not just throwing money at an assumed transaction while 5 other buyers are still in the mix. The contract can be from 2 to 10 pages long. It will usually include details on the format of payment, whether cash, stock, seller notes, earnouts, rollover equity, or contingency pricing. Transaction structure specs defining the deal as a stock or asset purchase. Generally speaking, asset deals protect the buyer from prior liabilities and provide a stepped-up tax basis, and stock deals benefit the seller from both a legal and tax perspective. Updated estimate of closing date. List tests that need to be completed by closing. Approvals needed by the buyer, for example, board of director vote, or seller, for example. Permissions from regulatory agencies to complete the deal. Binding period of exclusivity. This is usually of at least 3 binding clauses in the contract and typically lasts between 30 and 120 days. While the duration might be negotiable, the presence of an exclusivity clause will almost always be non-negotiable. Binding breakup fees. In most cases, it includes deals greater than $500 million in aggregate value, usually include a fee structure that protects the buyer from an owner withdrawal. This could either be a percentage in the range of 6% of the transaction value or a fixed dollar amount. Binding confidential terms that go further from the original NDA. Management compensation plans detailing which current executives should be retained post-transaction, their equity plans, and their employment terms. This is often worded vaguely to give the buyers latitude, so it may not be in a position to make broad commitments to executives. Any additional areas of due diligence required by the buyer depending on the deal. A summary of the buyer's expected escrow terms. This allows it to hold back a percentage of the purchase funds to cover future calls for past seller liabilities. And this is generally highly negotiable and will sometimes be excluded from the LOI and presented for the first time in the purchase agreement. The LOI is an important milestone in the successful sale of a company. While it doesn't guarantee a closed deal, it is a clear signal that the buyer has serious intentions.